Welcome back to the Chuck&Schup show. It is another great week in this mid-December. Chuck, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling cold. I'm feeling cold, but I'm hot at the same time. I'm fuego.
Oh yeah, he's hot, all right. Yeah, shout out to freezing rain though. Not a
Yeah,
fun drive to work today, but we're about to have some fun today.
hell yeah.
We got a packed show once again. We're gonna hit our dubs and L's. We're gonna hit our NFL pick'em, but we're gonna throw a little fantasy football in there, which is unusual for us. But main slate for today, we're gonna go over the college football bowl landscape. We're talking about the playoff, obviously, but some of our favorite games and matchups that we're looking forward to as well.
Bowl
But
season.
Chuck, how do we start this baby off?
Oh, you know we got to start off with some dubs and L's. Get it going right
Dubs and
now.
L's.
Oh, oh, oh.
Floppy mics. Floppy mics all day. Okay. Let me start with my W. So we recorded these shows before the Thursday night football game. So this was about a week and 22 hours ago, but it still counts. Mr. Baker Mayfield gets my W for this week for what he did on that Thursday night, which I'm sure you've heard about it by now, but it was so remarkable that it earned him the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, despite not really putting up the greatest stats in the world. But because of the conditions that he had to play in against the Raiders, now we're not talking about field conditions or the defense he was playing because it was the Raiders after all.
Yeah.
But Baker got waived by the Panthers. So his second unsuccessful stint with the team in the last couple of years, and immediately gets picked up by the Rams. The Rams tell him, hey, you are our best quarterback already. You need to learn this playbook in 2 days, and you need to go win this game for us.
Yeah.
Now,
Tall order.
now for most of that game, some plays he looked really good. He had some good throws. Other plays, it just simply looked like he did not have enough knowledge of the offense quite yet. Having to use timeouts, handing the ball off the wrong way. It looked like the Rams predictably were going to lose that game. But wouldn't you know, a couple of miraculous late drives, including one of the best throws I've seen all year to Ben Skoranek down the right sideline. Baker Mayfield got himself a W after being on the Rams for just 2 days. How will he follow it up against the Packers? Frankly, I'm not sure. But he's already impressed enough that I'm sure he'll at least get a shot as the Rams' main backup next year. Who knows even more?
I hope he lands a spot. I mean, definitely gives him the right to be on a pro team. That's what I say.
100% Chuck. Hit me with that W.
So my dub for today is, we got to hit all sports, and the World Cup's been rocking. I'm a big fan of World Cup right now. France has just beat Morocco yesterday to move to the final, and Argentina on Tuesday beat I'm missing the team here. They beat Croatia.
Correct.
And now it's going to be Argentina versus France. Now France has I'm not going to jinx it. I think I'm going to jinx it here, but France has a chance. This is why it's a huge dub for France. France has a chance to become the only, I think it's back-to-back champion in the World Cup, and no country has won it back-to-back. I'm almost positive.
That's correct.
So, and usually when a country wins it, they don't even see the playoffs of the next World Cup. So they're already breaking it in its sense. So huge dub for France. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and Mbappe, France's striker and best player, he's still so young. He's still entering the prime of his career. So it's scary to think that he might already accomplish 2 World Cups in his young career, and he still might not be done yet.
Oh, virtual lock, by the way. We got Messi anytime goal in the final. It's a lock.
Well, we'll see. He hasn't had the clutch gene in those moments, so maybe he gets it done this time.
He's clutch.
So, speaking of other sports, for my L this week, Draymond Green might be having one of the worst seasons for any NBA player up to this point. Obviously, Kyrie might be a little bit worse at this point, but anti-Semitism aside,
Yeah.
Draymond, he started the offseason with a leaked fight with Jordan Poole where he literally sucker punched him so hard you would think he killed his mom or something,
It
like
was
something
violent.
crazy.
It was definitely violent.
Well, the drama hasn't left the Warriors because they are barely scratching the surface for making the play-in game, at least at this point to the season. And I don't know if you saw, but Draymond Green got a fan ejected from last night's Bucks Warriors game, and
Yeah.
the announcers were all dismissing the fans, saying, if you come to a game, there's a line to be drawn, and you can't just be saying whatever you want to players. So the report came out today of what that fan did say, and the fan told Draymond Green that Milwaukee fans are giving you a pass. Why? Because Jordan Poole is a Milwaukee native, and Draymond Green heard that, and he made a big whiny crybaby deal to the refs. The refs threw him out of there. Now that's just a bad look for Draymond, because something like that, where he's not saying something racist or anything is really just downright mean. I mean, that was something that Draymond did, and Draymond needs to own up to. And it seems like he's having a hard time opening up to it, and he doesn't want to hear about it anymore. But when you're in the spotlight like that, and you do something like that, which would literally be assault for you and me if I did that to one of my coworkers.
Exactly.
It says a lot that the Bucks aren't banning this fan for life. The Bucks are actually offering him tickets to another game.
Damn straight. I would be so mad if I got kicked out because of that. I'd be so mad.
So honestly, W for the fan. Huge L for Draymond.
Facts. Speaking of trash talking, so we got my L is gonna go to Micah Parsons for opening his mouth on the Von Miller podcast recently. I think it was like 2 days ago. Von asked him a question about Jalen Hurts or some sort of that topic, and Parsons began to bring up that Jalen Hurts really isn't like the Eagles' offense. He has other people around him, and that's why Jalen Hurts is doing so well. And I just think this is a huge L for someone to just start talking shit at a moment where you're going to be playing each other. And I just love the response from the Eagles players as Jalen Hurts was brought up about the topic. And in the press conference, Jalen Hurts goes, "We're worried about the Chicago Bears." And then one of their left tackles, they interviewed him and they asked him about it. And then he said the same thing. We're worried about the Chicago Bears. Like they could worry about us, but that, and then like a little shot at them. Like that's just the type of team they are. But huge L for Micah opening his mouth. I think this is not going to end well for the Cowboys. And I think the Eagles are going to use this secretly as fuel to absolutely destroy them. And I love it. And the NFL needs it. So an L and a dub.
Chuck, you and me are both young guys, but how many times in our young lives have we seen NFL players say stupid shit, trash talking their opponent before the game?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, this game is happening in 2 weeks, and then going on to lose because one team is focused on trash talk and the other team is not, and then that team now has motivation to win. It's just such a bad move.
It's not a good look. I don't think it's a good look either. And his reaction too on the podcast, if you didn't see it, it's just he doesn't think Jalen Hurts is all that. I mean, I don't really think Jalen Hurts is all that, but the dude is doing incredible things right now. So I don't know if you could talk that much shit.
Can't hate on the MVP frontrunner. No. Bottom line.
You can't.
All right. Well, never good dubs and L's. We are going to move on to our segment of the day. So college football is here. Almost here. We're both season is starting up within the week. We get so tomorrow actually. Good call on that. We got the lower bowls coming in, so the warm-up bowls getting kicked off, and then we're gonna really start to get into some action before we hit the final week of December where the big games kick in.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna preview the college football playoff. But before we do that, I want to talk about 3 games that you're excited for, outside of the playoff games, that you're looking forward to. So Chuck, give me 3 games
So
that
I
you're
got
looking forward to.
later on in the season. I was looking at the games. Later on, the Rose Bowl is going to be good. Utah versus Penn State. It's going to be in Pasadena. It's going to be a great game. I think Utah just rolls over them, but I'm hoping for like a nice shootout. Texas versus Washington, the number 12 versus I think the ranked number 20, and then also I said the Rose Bowl, right? So the Rose Bowl, the
Mhm.
next one, Texas versus Washington, that's the Valero Alamo Bowl, so the Alamo Bowl, and then in the beginning of the week we have tomorrow is going to be. Hold on, tomorrow is going to be. It's like, oh, here we go. UTSA versus Troy. And that's like I forget what 2 conferences that is, but they're both 11-2, and that's how you should start off the bowl week is an 11-2 on primetime television. So, looking forward to that one.
So 3 games that I'm excited for. I'm gonna shout out one of your picks. Starting off the Alamo Bowl, Texas versus Washington. Among if you want to see a game with points on points on points, then this is my pick for you. And two of the more explosive players in the country on each side of the ball are in this game. Bijan Robinson, who is probably the best running back in the country, and I'm really looking forward to him playing on Sundays next year. And you got Michael Penix Jr., who can do it with his arm and his legs. He's had a fantastic season for the Huskies.
Mm-hmm.
Love to watch that game. Uh, if you want a quarterback duel in the Holiday Bowl, now this is assuming Bo Nix is playing for Oregon. I haven't heard anything about him leaving school yet, so I'm assuming he's going to return for his senior season, which would be smart in this low QB class.
He should.
But him, Bo Nix against North Carolina and freshman stud Drake May, who could be a future first rounder himself. North Carolina has had a penchant for developing good quarterbacks in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
With Trubisky and Sam Howell. Now you have Drake May, who really burst onto the scene with his amazing athletic ability and nearly leading North Carolina to a playoff bid. Honestly, that close. They're that close to playing in the New Year's Six Bowl. So these are 2 teams that were on the cusp of making it. So I'm very excited for that one. And then we got the Gator Bowl with your boys Notre Dame against South Carolina. 2 teams that have played big time spoilers in the college football race. Obviously meaning well coached teams. I know you've had your thoughts about Marcus Freeman this year, but he had done a good job of turning him around down the stretch. But South Carolina is probably one of the best coaching jobs all season after getting dismantled by Georgia and Florida and not giving up on the season, turning around and dismantling a very good Tennessee team. Looking forward to watching 2 guys on Notre Dame in that game, Michael Meyer, maybe best tight end in the country behind Brock Bowers, and Isaiah Foskey. Although there's probably a chance they don't play in this game, but because players don't seem to like to play in these bowl games, which sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
But regardless, even if we don't see him in this game, it'll be great on Sundays pretty soon. Okay, so let's go to the big games, the college football playoff. We're going to start with number 1 Georgia versus number 4 Ohio State. These teams, for as much playoff success they've had, they haven't really faced all that much. I believe they've only faced once in the playoff history, of which Georgia ended up winning that game. But what kind of shot do you give Ohio State in this game to potentially pull a big upset?
I give them a really big shot. I mean, I feel like it's their. I mean, it's Georgia's game to lose, right? And if Ohio State wants to beat them, they got to create turnovers, and they definitely can. Because one game I like to think of that Georgia was so vulnerable was them against Missouri, and Missouri had a stout defense, and this was earlier in the season. But Georgia only came out winning, I think, by like four. I think it was like 3 points or 2 points or maybe four. But it was a close game the whole entire game, and Georgia scored at the end, and Missouri had a chance to win. But I think if Ohio State just buckles down defensively, gives up zero big plays over 20 yards, unlike they did against Michigan, I think it's very easy to bottle up this Georgia offense and just keep them from scoring like 40 plus. And then Ohio State CJ Stroud just has to become a superstar. He doesn't have to do it all, but he essentially, like, when they give him running lanes, take those running lanes, and you got to be tough in this game. So I think Ohio State has a chance.
I would love to. I would love to see that. I mean, their offense. I expect them to do what they have been doing all season, which is airing it out, protecting well. Protection is going to be a big deal. You got a huge matchup with Jalen Carter on that Georgia D line and Paris Johnson, one of the best left tackles in the nation for Ohio State. Uh, Ohio State, is a bit of an equalizer on that side of the ball. But yeah, the defense is going to be the key because that defense was extremely undisciplined against a Michigan pass attack that wasn't their shining focus the entire season. And I do worry about who's going to stay in coverage on Brock Bowers and hold him in check.
It was literally
That's
shoot. It was five big plays, over 20 yards, five scores. Like if Ohio State can just minimize that in a game that basically not the same team, but sort of like the same team, I think they're good.
Yeah, but obviously we can't just count out Georgia and what they've done this season. That Missouri game was a clunker, but always possible that they weren't completely focused on that game. But in the big games this season, like especially against Tennessee, it looked like Tennessee never even had a chance.
Mm-mm.
I do want to say though, so I said that Ohio State and Georgia played. I'm actually incorrect. They've never played in the playoff, which is actually crazy considering how many times they both made it. It seems that Ohio State just seems to run into Alabama or Clemson every year when they play.
Yeah.
So a little variety there, and we got variety in our other game. We got TCU making its first ever college bowl playoff appearance against Michigan, who is making its second straight appearance. Winners of the Big Ten title, undefeated this year. TCU went down the Big 12 championship game. Chuck, any matchups in this game that you're looking forward to in particular?
So for this game, I'm looking for Max Duggan to take over at quarterback, not turn over the football against a Michigan defense that's pretty good in the secondary. And also looking for their running back, Miller, to go off in this game. Essentially, it all starts at the front of the line of scrimmage. And this one, whoever wins the line of scrimmage wins this game. So I'm thinking if TCU can hold up and put some points on the board, and then this Michigan team will try to run the ball, but essentially I think the defense on the TCU side has to nut up and stop the run, and then on the offensive side, Max Duggan has to have a perfect game. So I'm going with TCU.
Yeah, obviously, would love to see TCU win. But one thing I saw in that TCU Kansas State game was Max Duggan getting crushed behind that offensive line.
Yeah.
They have now TCU does have one very good interior O lineman. Name is Steve Avila, and I'm excited to see him play against Michigan's stout defensive tackle Mazzy Smith. But overall, that Michigan D line is scary, and if Duggan's going to be running around for his life again, it's going to make life very difficult for him, which is why he needs to do his best to locate stud receiver Quentin Johnson as much as possible. Michigan, they're not particularly great at corner, so this is definitely an area that TCU can expose. And Johnson, we talked about him already this year, 6'4", freak athlete, can catch anything that's thrown at him. I would love to see what kind of performance he could put on in a spotlight game like this. And then for Michigan, Cornelius Johnson erupt out of nowhere against Ohio State with a couple of long touchdowns.
Yeah.
Was that a fluke performance, Or can he repeat something like that? Was JJ McCarthy's performance a fluke performance as well? Or is that a sign of things to come? I do think that this Michigan team has a lot of momentum going with, their performance last year and then going to this year with the big statement win over Ohio State.
Yeah,
But one thing is, are they going to be maybe overlooking TCU a bit and thinking about Georgia or a potential rematch
I definitely
with Ohio State? TCU feels like the odd team out in this 14 playoff just based on their recent history. So I wouldn't be surprised to see TCU come out firing in the first half.
me too. I like it. Big games.
Yes. All right. So um, before we cap this off, uh, are we going to see Ohio State, Michigan in the
I
championship
mean,
game?
honestly, I want Ohio State TCU. I want Michigan to lose to TCU. So I want Ohio State TCU. I think that would be a
Yeah,
more fun game.
that would be the fans' dream matchup, at least neutral fans.
Just like a
Uh,
different vibe.
yeah, but with Ohio State winning, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
All
No,
right,
obviously.
100%. Okay, well, that's it for college football for now. We're going to roll over to the NFL. Um, Special segment for this week. We haven't really talked much about fantasy football. My personal reason for not wanting to talk about fantasy football is I know a lot of my friends who are in my league watch this podcast, so I'm not giving you any of my free advice. Chuck, you're lucky you didn't get my advice in the first
I
place.
know.
But
I know.
all right, so we're gonna go over three guys that helped us make the playoffs this season. We both made the playoffs, different leagues, but we did sneak in. You did more than sneak in your league. So talk about three guys that helped you get there.
So three guys that just helped me coast and stay at the top of my league. First at number three, Donta Foreman. So like in the beginning of the season, I had Dobbins was hurt. Williams from the Broncos is out for the season. Damius Harris later in the season just gets hurt too. So who do I pick up? This guy named Donta Foreman, who was formerly Foreman on the Tennessee Titans, was now on the Carolina Panthers. And it was like him and Chuba Hubbard. So I was like, let's just go with Foreman, more projected points. And ever since week 11, he's been coasting for me. Second, I'm going to go with Scary Terry, but second half of the season, Scary Terry, because in the beginning, it was Carson Wentz at quarterback, right? And Terry wasn't getting much of the receptions. So McLaurin had to go McLaurin when Heineke got onto the scene, right? And that's Heineke's favorite weapon. So I just exploded with that. And I did a trade Lockett for him middle of the season. At first, it wasn't going good, and Lockett was getting all the attention. But that guy didn't make the playoffs, and I made the playoffs. So I did the better of the trade. And
Valid.
my first guy, Josh Jacobs. I've had him for the past 3 seasons. I made the playoffs the past 3 seasons. And this guy, he's a lock. He's an absolute lock for next season, too. So Josh Jacobs, number one fantasy man. Thank you.
Yes, he's had an amazing season. Context for my league. So I actually started the season 2-6, and was probably not even going to be able to talk in this segment. But 5-1 down the stretch got me to 7-7, got me to sneak into a playoff spot. And there's three guys I really want to thank for that. My first guy on the list I'm going to talk about is Christian Kirk. My draft at receiver didn't go too great. Theme of this segment, Cooper Kupp. He was also on my team. He also got hurt. And then I had Deontay Johnson and Cortland Sutton as my other top two receiver picks. Both massive disappointments. So who stepped up? Well, my 8th-round pick, Christian Kirk, who, he's still not worth the money that he's getting in Jacksonville, but he definitely had always been the Jags' most explosive receiver. And down the stretch, he's had some amazing games where he's got the yardage, the catches, and found the end zone. And Trevor Lawrence has definitely taken a step up in his second year, and that's certainly helped Kirk's production and
Mm-hmm.
him being number one guy, it was a steal as an eighth round pick. Um, this next guy, I traded for midseason for the aforementioned Deontay Johnson, and that is James Conner. And boy, oh boy, was that a good trade for me. I mean, Deontay still doesn't have a touchdown this season, but James Conner, ever since week 9, has scored double-digit points in every game, including multiple games with at least 20 points. And he's back to what he was last year, which was finding the end zone whenever the Cardinals are near the red zone. So Connor really has rebounded, and with Kyler Murray now out for the season, I expect them to rely on the run game a little bit more. So expecting big things for Connor in the playoffs. But my number one's the obvious choice. Christian Watson, man. Um, when I was looking for receivers off the waiver wire, I was trying to get guys that could, be serviceable, but I didn't think anyone would replace his production in Cooper Kupp. Well, Watson has done that and some. 8 touchdowns in 4 games. I picked him up after the 3 TD game against the Cowboys, but still 5 touchdowns in the 3 games that I've started him in, including a huge 46-yard rushing touchdown, which shows that he is just what kind of athlete he is. And, going into these fantasy playoffs, I'm fully certain that Aaron Rodgers is going to do nothing but try to get him more open looks. And I'm super excited to see what Watts can do with a full season of play.
Facts. I love Christian Kirk. He also helped me too. He's super consistent.
Yes. Looks like I need to draft more Christians at that wide receiver.
Oh yeah. It was always Christian. It was always Christian.
Alrighty. And final segment. Our NFL pick'em. So, like we mentioned, we are in a 3-week playoff, and the loser of this playoff will have to do a full recap of the New Mexico State Bowling Green game.
Yes.
So to go over last week, so we picked the same 3 teams to win in the 3 split 'em games. Went 2-1. But I went 2-0 with my lock and upset. Shout out Carolina and Pollard. You hit your lock for the Jets, but lost the Giants upset, which was a bit of a bold pick at the time, but it is what it is. So I take a lead with 4-1 versus 3-2 and the tiebreaker. So you're gonna need a big week to try to catch up. So let's see what we got this week. We're gonna start the Thursday night game. This is gonna be the 49ers going into Seattle. Brock Purdy a little banged up, but ready to go tonight. Geno Smith struggling the last few weeks, but maybe he can rebound this week. What do you think, Chuck?
I got 49ers all the way. Brock Purdy's active as of this afternoon. He's good to go. He's tough as nails. And I just don't think after the Seahawks coming off of an embarrassing loss to the Panthers, I don't think you can bounce back from that. And I'm thinking this 49ers pass rush just gets to Geno, and Geno, we actually see Geno and who Geno was the whole time. So 49ers.
I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going to take Seattle at home. This is their biggest game of the season by far. It's fair to wonder if they're looking ahead to this game while they're playing the Panthers. But Brock Purdy on a short week, banged up, but this is also his first real road game, and he's going to be in a loud environment. Rookie jitters, as cool and calm as this guy has been, it definitely can be a real thing. And now the 49ers recently lost one of their best weapons without much time to game plan around it. So I think this will be an exciting game, but I like Seattle's game because Seattle needs this game, and Geno needs this game to prove he's contract worthy.
Facts. We'll see.
Yes. Steelers, Panthers. you would think a battle of 5 and 8 teams really doesn't mean much this late in the season, but no, the Panthers are right in the thick of their division race, and the Steelers are in a bit of QB flux right now. You got their own wide receivers saying that they'd rather have Mason Rudolph over Mitch Trubisky, which is a sure way to help you get more targets. But regardless, who do you have in this game?
I got Panthers all the way, and I'm gonna say Panthers because they're healthy. They got their whole. I think their defense is phenomenal. I think they're very underrated on defense, and they're playing the Steelers. They got Mitch coming back in, but I think Mitch is just gonna be same old Mitch, and I think Brian Burns and company are just gonna get to him on the pass rush, and they win the line of scrimmage. So I got Panthers.
Hmm. I'm going to go with the upset here as well. The Pittsburgh Steelers are once again underdogs, which has been a mistake ever since TJ Watt has come back. I would love TJ Watt to have a big game in this one. That battle in the trenches is going to be a huge advantage for Pittsburgh, as is the coaching advantage. Mike Tomlin versus the interim head coach. Sam Darnold has played pretty well up to this point, but he hasn't faced the defense quite like this one. Pittsburgh, they can find other ways to get it done. Even if the Steelers, even if the Panthers have a pretty solid run defense, I think Tomlin will scheme it up and Steelers pull off the upset.
Panthers are at home. I got the home team.
Nah, home team, road team, but home team or road team for this game. Titans at Chargers. Chargers not much of a home field advantage, but Justin Herbert is hot as any quarterback in the league, and I mean that in a statistics way, and a looks way. And then you got the Titans, who are falling off a bit as of late, but they have had some tough matchups, and they're still a very good coach team. So Chuck, who do you have in this game, Titans or Chargers?
I'm gonna go with Titans. Chargers, their defense is injury prone. I think the Titans run all over them, and Henry gets like 130 yards rushing. Yeah, Herbert could probably go off, but I just don't think that defense holds up against this run game. So I'm gonna go with the Titans.
Yeah, Chuck, this is going to be a battle of weakness versus strength and weakness versus strength. Titans' best strength is running the football. Chargers cannot stop the run. Second worst in the league. And then you have the Titans, who can't stop the pass. They're dead last in terms of giving up fantasy points to wide receivers. Bless you.
Thank you.
So they're dead last in giving up points to wide receivers, and Justin Herbert is slinging it and has his top two weapons back. But I will side with you on this one. Titans are going to win because they're a well-coached team. Mike Vrabel's not going to let them slip. Not going to let them slip down this late in the season.
I wouldn't think so.
Chargers got a huge win on primetime TV. And I really think the Titans have the advantage of being able to control that clock.
Oh, yeah.
Titans in this one.
Agreed.
All right, let's hit some locks real quick.
All righty. So my locks. So I just want to point out, so this year, I think we've done, looks like 9, 10, 11, 13 pick'ems. And my locks have been 9, 2, and 2. So like I'm above 50%, I'm pretty sure. And that's nasty. I'm just gonna point that out. So my lock this week, Raiders -1 at home against the Pats. It's on Sunday, 4 o'clock p.m. What is that? 2 o'clock Mountain Time, 1 o'clock Pacific Time. So book it.
All right. My lock. I was hoping to get 7.5 on this one, but I'm going to lock in the Dolphins now at +7. We got snowy conditions, which should make this a close game. Dolphins run game, it ain't too bad. So it's not like that'll hold them back in terms of weakness. But we've seen the Dolphins in multiple big games in a row come up short, and people are thinking this is the Dolphins now. But their O-line's been extremely banged up. Now you get Teron Armstead with a second game of being healthy. Tyreek Hill is good to go. Waddle and Tua should be recovered off their recent lingering injuries. And the Bills' defense has not been that good since Von Miller left with injury. So I like the Dolphins to cover this inflated spread.
Perfect.
And let's end it with the upset.
So my upset, I'm gonna go with the I'm gonna go with Jaguars upset the Cowboys at home, 1 p.m. Sunday.
I love that pick. I hope that happens too, but I think it's a really good pick. I like a lot of upsets on this slate, as you can tell already. I like the Ravens. I don't understand why they are an underdog on Saturday versus the Browns. Maybe it's because they might start a third stringer, but that doesn't matter. Deshaun Watson has looked like absolute crap since he's come back, and the Ravens are a well-coached organization that can get it done. Despite these quarterback issues, that defense since Roquan Smith has been dominant, top 3 in every major category since they acquired him in the trade. It's going to neutralize the Browns' biggest threat, which is their run game, and Ravens take it home.
Facts.
Thank you once again for joining us. I hope you follow our picks and hope you enjoy this college football bowl season. And we'll be back next week for a special Christmas episode. But until then, Chuck, what do we say?
Always be good to your neighbor. Peace out.
Facts. Peace out.
Peace out. Raiders -1. Lock it in.
Lock that shit in. Lock it in.
Lock it in. Like and subscribe.